I put the spotlight on Citizenship Amendment Act and whether politics around CAA are now becoming an interesting point in these state elections, and whether politics around CAA will become a hurdle for the BJP in some of the states that are going to elections this time around. Why are we talking about it today? Because interestingly, BJP's ally, AIADMK, that actually backed the centre on this law in the parliament, has now come out and in its manifesto promised that they will urge the central government to withdraw Citizenship Amendment Act. So the AIADMK that's fighting elections with the BJP in Tamil Nadu says that we want to safeguard the interests of minorities and we will urge the centre to withdraw the CAA. For all the debate and the conversation that happened about a year ago and over a year ago, it seems BJP's own allies are now changing their minds, keeping their electoral fortunes in mind. Now, while the BJP says it's not possible to take back the law, we have to try and convincing people. It clearly has become a talking point in Tamil Nadu this election season. Before I move on to what is happening in other states related to Citizenship Amendment Act, let's listen in to these comments we got today from the AIADMK and the BJP.
மத்திய அரசை வலியுறுத்தப்படும். நம்முடைய அரசு மத்திய அரசை வலியுறுத்தப்படும் என்றுதான் தெரிவித்திருக்கின்றனர். இன்றைக்கு சிறுபான்மை மக்களை பாதுகாக்கக்கூடிய அரசு அம்மாவுடைய அரசு. அதன் வழியிலே அந்த சிறுபான்மை மக்கள் கோரிக்கை வைத்திருக்கிறார். அந்த கோரிக்கையை எங்களுடைய அரசு மத்தியிலே வலியுறுத்தும்.
No, it's not a question of U-turn. See, they have said that they will try to convince, but this is a law. This is not a bill anymore. It is a law. So definitely it is not possible to take it back, or any amendment is possible there. So we should try to make the opposition correct, because the opposition is trying to create some problems here. So I think the state government or the AIADMK will convince the people of Tamil Nadu, whoever anyone objects.
So that's that, because even in the state of Assam, where of course it became a big issue over a year ago when the CAA rollout was supposed to take place, the BJP has largely stayed away from it. But the opposition party, Congress, has picked it up. Congress, in fact, has promised that they'll build an anti-CAA memorial. We also spotted Rahul Gandhi attending one of the rallies with a cloth that actually said no to CAA. In West Bengal as well, all the political parties targeting the votes of the minorities have taken a very anti-CAA stand, while the BJP seems to suggest, well, the rollout's not going to happen now. It's not an issue this election season. We'll take a look at the rollout of the Citizenship Amendment Act only after the vaccination drive. So they don't want it to become an issue. Unfortunately for them, their allies in Tamil Nadu have raised it themselves. So what happens now? Can it become a hurdle for them? Let's say good evening to Manu Sundaram, spokesperson of the DMK, Kovai Satyan, spokesperson for the AIADMK, Madhavan Narayan, senior journalist who joins us this evening, Charu Pragya of the BJP, and Anshul Avijit, national spokesperson for the Congress party. I'm going to quickly first go across to Madhavan and get in a view from him before I throw it away to the political parties. Can this be a hurdle for the BJP in a couple of the states, Madhavan?
The very simple answer is probably, but things work in a very more complex way. First of all, let me remind you gently that it was in 1998 that the Vajpayee government fell because Jayalalitha withdrew support to it at the national level, and that's what they say led to the nuclear test of 1998. So if you look at the history of the ADMK, right from MGR's time, it was always an alliance in which the partners were equal. At those times, it was the 67-33 formula under which the ADMK had 67% of the local assembly seats, while Congress had 33, and the opposite happened at the central level. Why am I telling all this? Telling all this because ADMK always had a mind of its own. And if you look at the experience of Shiv Sena, the AIADMK knows very well that its status cannot be taken for granted at a time when Amit Shah and Modi are trying to make BJP a truly national party in footprint. The third thing that I want to mention is that Dravidian ideology is very much intact and alive and kicking, which basically means that the BJP's attempt to have its RSS oriented ideology based on a single language or national unity based on a homogeneous platform goes against the fundamental principles of diversity, affirmative action, and social justice, which is at the heart of the Dravidian ideology. And therefore, taking all these things together, I would say that everybody would be cautious in dealing with the BJP when they become allies. We already seen the Akali Dal quit the alliance over the farmers issue. So it doesn't surprise me at all. But having said that, let me say that CAA is something that, given the Sri Lankan refugees in Tamil Nadu, cannot be simply ignored for the sake of the Tamil solidarity that is part of the Dravidian movement. And therefore, to that extent, the ADMK wants to make sure that it doesn't step on any toes. And also, this is a wonderful lever to keep with the BJP in case anything goes wrong in the alliance in which there is an attempt to arm twist or bulldoze, then this issue can be raked up by the ADMK. In spite of the fact that it's already a law, they can always say, we asked them to withdraw and they didn't, and therefore we are going to change this alliance. So they want to keep the options open. So this is not really a love affair. This is a marriage of convenience. So I'm not surprised at all.
Okay, thank you so much for that, and I do agree with you to a great extent on how this is taking place. Let's ask Kovai. Kovai, what's this sudden change of mind, and why did you decide to now bring it in your poll manifesto after the way your party reacted when the law was brought in?
Good evening, Tanvi. Your title says it's a U-turn, but for us, a bend in the road is not the end of the road unless you fail to make a turn. Yeah, we know that it is being enacted as a law, and we're still waiting for the central government to give the notifications for operationalizing it. But at the same time, we find rumor mongers at certain pockets of the society. For the last few years, what's happening in Tamil Nadu is my opposition has taken the role of them. They have spread nothing but hatred and wrong information, fed wrong information in the name of appeasing the minorities. Even during the COVID, they invited them to stage a protest to challenge the government on the law and order situation. So, with these minority people who are aptly fed with a lot of wrong informations by these rumor mongers are being squeezed to such a level that there is a sense of fear, there is a fear element built in, and there is anxiety being built in, and which in turn they say that we are the only party who will be able to fulfill those. But what's surprising is when the DMK manifesto was out, there was no mention about the CAR NRC. Indeed, we at the debates pointed out what happened to your CAA and NRC, which you said you will fight till the tooth and nail to protect minorities. The next day morning, the opposition leader comes and says that the CAA and NRC will be included in the manifesto. So you can understand the plight of clarity they have in this issue. But as far as we are concerned, there is a sense of anxiety, there is a sense of fear, and there is a sense of lot of wrong information being fed into the minds of minorities. The onus lies on the elected government to ensure that they get the right amount of information and all their fears are being ruled out and they live in peace. We cannot look at a scenario where my opposition is clearly trying to play a card of religious division and trying to incite religious tensions in the state. The onus lies on us and as well as in the center.
No, so are you going to address their fears by giving them correct information and telling them that they have been misinformed or ill-informed, or are you going to ask the central government to withdraw the law? Because that's what the Chief Minister said.
What we are saying is the responsibility and onus lies with the central government. If this can be withdrawn, it's fine. If it is not so, then with this current format, it cannot come into the state of Tamil Nadu because the opposition has already done with their damage by giving wrong information, feeding wrong information, and trying to create the religious divide in the state. So, with due representations from the minority community, that's what our CM said. A due representation from them. Our appeal to the center is yes, if you could consider it, it's well and fine.
Okay, let me bring in then first up Manu Sundaram to respond to what AIADMK is saying before I bring in the BJP, because AIADMK also is saying right now, Manu, that the DMK didn't care about it enough until we brought it up.
Well, maybe a quick lesson in history is in order. On 11th December 2019, when the Citizenship Amendment Act was discussed and passed in the Rajya Sabha, 11 members of parliament belonging to the AIADMK voted in support of the Citizenship Amendment Act. Yes, it is more than a year ago, so perhaps, their memory is a little fuzzy, but I'd like to remind them through you that people have not forgotten that the AIADMK effectively helped the BJP government pass the Citizenship Amendment Act in a fairly precariously divided Rajya Sabha. So they should take credit for that, for having actually created these communal divisions across the country. Now, the CAA as such is an abomination of secular principles. I've made that clear in the past, and that's the DMK's position. If you look at the debates which took place in the Lok Sabha 2 days prior to 12th December, so 9th December 2019, when the Citizenship Amendment Bill was taken up for consideration in the Lok Sabha, you will notice every single member of the DMK and Congress voted against it. So now they seem to think that we are spreading some sort of wrong information. I do not know who controls the police and state machinery in the state of Tamil Nadu under the AIADMK. Is it the DMK's responsibility, or is it the AIADMK government's responsibility to stop this so-called flow of wrong information? Now, Tanvi, my point again and again that I'd like to make is this. The BJP and the ADMK have nothing to show as a progress report in the state of Tamil Nadu, which is why they would love for the Citizenship Amendment Act and all the secular tension around it to become talking points in the state of Tamil Nadu. This is not the first time they've done this. But then what does this make of the AIADMK, who voted in support of the Citizenship Amendment Act in 2019, of course, at the behest and subservient to their Delhi masters? But then how can they change their position now? If you ask them that, instead of giving you a straightforward explanation, they could admit their mistake for one. But they take solace in blaming the DMK for all their mistakes and wrong turns. So therein lies the problem. If the AIADMK has this straightforward explanation to the people of Tamil Nadu, we would love to hear that. I would love to debate on that. But there's these defamatory statements against the DMK. We are spreading wrong information. I do not even know what that means. If he's talking about something specific, I'd be happy to explain.
Okay, let's bring in the BJP also on this, because I'm sure for the BJP, it is going to be embarrassing when their own ally turns around and promises to the people of the state that we will urge the centre to take back this law.
And first of all, any alliance in this country works on a common minimum program, and we have one with the AIADMK, and we will make sure that we serve the people of Tamil Nadu in the best possible manner. But since my friend Manu was giving us a history lesson, I'd like to continue with that, and I'd like to give him a history lesson. Does he remember in 2007 when UPA was in power and the champion of Tamil rights, DMK, was their ally? There was actually a notification made by the central government which made the Tamilians in Sri Lanka ineligible to get Indian citizenship. This circular still stands, and it is all thanks to DMK and their allies in the center at that point of time, which has till today not given them citizenship. The second point I'd like to ask him is, why is it that they are so concerned about citizenship of a certain number of one
Well,
part of the
we see.
world, but they are not equally. Tanvi, is my video stuck?
Sorry, we're not able to hear
Charu,
you,
we lost your line in between. There was a bit of a technical issue. Can you repeat that?
But I think Charu was trying to say that something that happened in 2007, but unfortunately not remembering that from 2014 there has been a different government in the center. Please correct me if I'm wrong. It's taken them 7 years to realize that there was a mistake done earlier and still hasn't been corrected. I thought Charu was a pretty sharp lawyer, so.
But not even in 2014. Not even in 2014. It's not to say that even in the new amended act that we are talking about today, Sri Lankans are included. So that's that mistake is yet to be corrected. But at least you admit that there was a mistake that was then done. Do we have Charu back so that at least she can finish her point? 1 minute, please. We lost the line with her. We've got her back. Let her finish her point. Yeah, Charu.
Yeah. So that you're so concerned about people coming from one part of the world, but not concerned about people coming from Pakistan or Bangladesh. In any case, from Sri Lanka who are in India today can get citizenship following the normal procedure. It comes under Section 6 of the Citizen. It does not need a separate bill. It does not need an amendment. All they need is one simple order from the government. Nationalization, they are going to fulfill the criteria and become citizens. I don't know why you make this big hue and cry. In any case, this has shown the people of Tamil Nadu the hypocrisy, and these crocodile tears today have come a tad too
No,
late.
so why don't you ask the AIADMK this question, Charu Pragya? I'm sorry, I don't understand this misdirected questioning that is happening here. Why are you not asking the AIADMK this question? DMK didn't raise it as an issue this election season. Your ally did.
So that's exactly what I'm saying, Tanvi. And if you're talking about allies, why do we not discuss the way allies have gone on? Whether it is Maharashtra, whether it is the way.
No, because I don't want to talk. I don't want to spend 90% of my debate talking about what allies did in 2000 or 1940s or 1970s. I'm sorry. And the point of the conversation is what is happening today. And today, the people of Tamil Nadu, people of Assam, people of West Bengal will have to choose political party and an alliance in many of these states basis what you guys are promising now for the next 5 years. That is the point here. Anshul Avjit, even in Assam, we hear from the Congress party. We don't hear from the BJP on where their plans are about Citizenship Amendment Act. Has there been a total silence except from their allies in Tamil Nadu? Anshul Avjit, please.
No, Tanvi, I was really surprised to hear that the NDA actually has a common minimum program which it expects its allies to adhere to. In fact, Mr. C.T. Ravi came and said that he was not even consulted when the AIADMK came up with a statement saying that the CA should be revoked, as if the BJP has set some kind of very high standards in consultative processes. I mean, look at what happened to the Farmers' Bill. It was just railroaded through the Rajya Sabha without any consultative process. To expect that from the AIADMK, it's like the pot calling the kettle black. But what the AIADMK has done right now is bring out the discrepancies and the perils of this law itself, which is highly discriminatory. I mean, it believes in some kind of a denominational engineering, which will never succeed. And it looks like kind of allies of the BJP and also in Assam. The AGP, parts of the AGP, you brought up Assam, parts of the sections of the AGP in Assam have always been opposed to this bill. They've criticized their own leadership in Assam for supporting this bill, so there are troubles even there. But as far as Tamil Nadu is concerned, the AIADMK was even against the bill when we saw that in February, the CM of the state actually withdrew cases, registered cases against those who had protested during the CAA, agitation that went on right from the time the bill was made into a law in 2019. So there you are. So you have a bill which is coming back to bite you, which has become a thorn in your politics. It's not like the BJP to blink. And I don't mean that in somewhat of a positive way. I mean, they will be relentless in their pursuit of a divisive agenda. I am sure there's no doubt about it. But here they find it increasingly uncomfortable, particularly in a state like Tamil Nadu, when there's so many complicated issues at stake that, in particular, the fate of the Tamil Nadu Sri Lankan refugees, the Tamil Sri Lankan refugees, which are not covered by this bill, a point that was mentioned earlier, and the fact that there is a Dravidian agenda as well, which the BJP is trying to ride over. I mean, it wants one nation, one language, one type of food. Everything is a sort of swamping with their own Hindutva, which the other parties cannot take. So they will rise in protest sometime or the other. It's happening already in Assam, but we'll come to Assam in a minute. Already in Tamil Nadu, we see rumblings of protest here, and I believe that will continue in other states as well, particularly in Bengal and in Assam, where they are withdrawing from this bill, where there are mixed signals. They are not going ahead with the framework of the CAA either. So mixed signals everywhere. I think it's backfired. They put it under the back burner, and I'm sure that is the nature of the politics, at least till this election.
Can we make a comment?
Yes, Charu Pragya, you can respond before I go to our other panelists. Yes. Before I go to Kovai, Charu Pragya first.
Yeah, thank you. And, I was thinking while Manuji was speaking, Anshuji was speaking, that he's talking about something which he doesn't understand. He belongs to a party where the leader doesn't understand anything about the Tamilian culture. What fingers are you pointing at BJP, sir? We are a party which embraces the culture of every single state with equal enthusiasm. Wherever our leaders travel, they make sure to mingle with the people, to understand their concerns and to stand by them when they are facing their concerns and to find solutions for them, both at the state level and at the center level. So I'm sorry, your entire take here is very, very hypocritical. And if you're talking about alliances today, I'd like to ask you why you're contesting with the left in Bengal and why are you not with them in Kerala? There are elections in both these places as well. Do you have an answer to that? Isn't that politics of convenience for you?
Again, Tanvi, can I respond to that?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's a red herring. You moved away very casually like you do in every other topic. Oh, when we talk about price rise, you say it's not your fault. The statement which has come out regarding SAM CAA is that vested interests are involved. So everything becomes a conspiracy. Everything becomes diversionary. You do not want to confront.
No. I asked you a very direct question, Anshu. It was a very direct question. If you are so stuck on your ideology, why is it that you contest against the left in Kerala and with the left in Bengal?
No, but that doesn't answer your question. Why your own coalition partner is against, and it's coming against your own policy.
No, so okay, so it's simple. All political parties believe in marriages of convenience. Some may call it common minimum program, and when the common minimum program doesn't go anywhere, just like in Jammu and Kashmir, they abandon it. They try it in Tamil Nadu. They've tried it in the past. May or may not work. Two people want to make comments here. I'm going to leave the convenient alliances that take place across the country by all political parties. Let's set that aside. Nobody is better than the other. Let's get back to the key point. Kovai wanted to make a point and then Madhavan also, but Kovai first. Yes.
Yeah, look at the difference between the ally. My fellow friend who has turned a historian recently now says that we are subversive to our masters in the center, wherein the representative from Congress says that there is a statement from the State Secretary, Mr. C.T. Ravi, that we have not been consulted in AIDMK. Which one to believe? And Mr. Manu wants to know what is that allegation against them, to be precise, so that he can answer. The allegation against you is, Mr. Manu, aren't you and your party leader said that the Muslims are going to lose their citizenship in this nation if this CAA is being implemented? Aren't you people want them to come and protest on the roads? Didn't you instigate them during the time of COVID pandemic to lay their lives for this bill, to fight against this bill? But now, when your manifesto was out, there was no mention about CAA. I can prove that. The same day on the debates when we pointed out that, yes, you said you are the protectors of minority and you said they are going to lose their citizenship. And where is no mention of CAA in your manifesto? The next day morning, your leader comes and says, we are going to include 5 points on your manifesto. So do you really think that your leader has thought about walking whatever he has promised? And look at your double standards. In your manifesto, you are mentioning about dual citizenship of Sri Lankan citizenship, wherein you say that this law is going to take away the citizenship of somebody else in this country. You don't have a clarity. You really thought a minority is your vote bank, and you want to instigate them against, and you want to set an agenda against our ally with BJP and us. You call us, we are the slaves and they are the masters, and they are here to bring in Hindu, Rashtra, Hindu, whatsoever it is. All you need is a tool like CAA to misguide the people, to instigate the people, create communal tension, create religious divide. This is what you were doing.
Now, Kovai, yes, you've raised this question 2 times, and we will get a response from that. But tonight, I want to first talk about the parties who have made it an issue. Granted that the DMK perhaps in this election season didn't raise it until you did. But Mr. Madhavan wanted to make a point earlier. Let's go across to him first.
Yeah, 3 points quickly. One is that the CAA, although it's a law already, the notifications have not been issued, and there are probably 140 petitions pending in the Supreme Court, which has been going slow on the issue. So the game is wide open for politicking over it. And Assam elections will be critical. And my own personal view is that the BJP likes the idea of talking about CAA than implementing it, because it's politically convenient. And the third point on what Charu Pragya said, the naturalization process under which even Adnan Sami Khan, the singer, has become a citizen of India is a red herring, because the central to CAA is the fact that there has been a baked-in perspective on people from Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, which goes against what parties like the Congress or the Constitutionalists believe is against the non-denominational nature of the nationhood itself, which is based on constitution. And last but not the least, the Sri Lankan problem in the process, both the minority Muslims in Tamil Nadu as well as the Sri Lankan refugees get on the wrong side of the ADMK if the AIADMK doesn't watch out, which is why although at the passage of the bill, AIADMK seemed to support the CAA, they have sort of suddenly realized on the back foot that they might be sitting on a political time bomb. And that's what made them take this rearguard action, because it also gives them a lever to play with the BJP in case there's an attempt. They want to consciously maintain an equidistance with regard to BJP and potentially even Congress. It has come to the point in this country where regional parties are wary of the BJP or the Amit Shah bulldozer. And they know that it's a question of when and not if whether these alliances will be in some way threatened by the BJP's own ambitions. So this has to be seen in that context, and I'm not therefore surprised at all. But I do believe the viewers of Mirror Now need to get this context, because otherwise there is always this tendency in this debate to go into random allegations on extraneous issues that party spokespersons are often fond of raising. But the CAA issue is critical because it is related to both the North-South reconciliation or unity as well as the constitutional principles, and therefore it's going to remain there on the table for some time, and we'll probably see some action in Supreme Court, although things are pretty slow there.
Tanvi, just to add to what Mr. Madhavan has said,
Yes,
not just constitutional principles. The CAA falls foul of international humanitarian principles as well, and that's been our position not today, but from December 2019. In fact, the DMK Member of Parliament Tiruchi Shiva introduced an amendment on the floor of the House in Rajya Sabha asking to add provisions to favor the Sri Lankan Tamils, which was denied. Now, just to answer my friend Satyan, Muslims have lost citizenry under the CAA. If you go to Assam, you will find numerous detention camps where this has happened. This is happening under the different tribunals. So I do hope you will take time to look into that. It is not a threat that is just looming large. It is something that is very real and has been happening in this country for a long time and will be accelerated by
no,
the.
So I will agree with you and to a lot of what other panelists here have said. Manu, just 1 minute though. I will agree with you and a lot of what our other panelists also said on Citizenship Amendment Act. And the problem that stems from the fact that it is selective. It is selective in specific religions. It is selective in mentioning specific nations. And if we are to say, like Charu said, any other citizen from any other country can apply through the other process, including Sri Lankans, then let the process be the same for all. But when we start becoming selective, to my mind, that is a problem. But what you are mentioning is something different. What is happening in Assam is the building of the NRC register, where names are being put in. And then the camps that are there to, for people who are not able to prove their citizenship. It doesn't directly become a consequence just of the Citizenship Amendment Act. And often we tend to confuse ourselves and the people watching our conversations or the difference between Citizenship Amendment Act and the NRC. There are two different, together you may say they sound problematic and could spell trouble for a lot of people.
It according to me is the next logical step in the CAA, and that might be something that we
yes, but that's the next logical step according to you. That's not factually what is happening. That is not factually what is happening on ground right now.
Which is my point today.
I will come up with a word of caution. Less people think you're fear mongering. That's all.
No. Let me just complete my line of thought, and I hope you will appreciate that. The Citizenship Amendment Act is in place, but the NRC is not in place, and we are moving towards it, and that's where we are trying to put the spoke. So when my friend asked why we don't talk about the CAA anymore, because it's already in place, it can only be repealed. They cannot coax and cajole the BJP to take it back or withdraw it, whatever that means. And the DMK has voted against the CAA. We have challenged it in the Supreme Court. We were the third petition in the Supreme Court to challenge the very constitutionality and the wires of the act. And finally, it is the BJP and ADMK squabbling that has given rise to this topic today. The DMK was not going fear-mongering or creating new issues or new tensions. We are focused still, like I say, which is what I said in my opening remarks. We want to see the progress report. We want to see the development that the ADMK and BJP have given to the state of Tamil Nadu, so we can counter that. But instead, they squabble on the CAA, and here we are discussing all of this, which I'm not unhappy with, but I just want to make a point that...
For which I feel there is merit to what... Okay, a point taken. And to the second aspect that you were raising, I think that's why there is merit to what Madhavan and Ryan were saying about some of the regional parties, strategizing and watching out for themselves, especially when they're allying with parties like the BJP or national party like that. Completely out of time. I'm going to thank all of our panelists for joining us, but viewers, it's very clear, when it comes to political fortunes and election season, political parties do change the stand basis of what they need out of which kind of voter at that time. So the party that backed the BJP a year ago in the parliament to bring in the Citizenship Amendment Act now suddenly seems to say, oh, we are concerned about the fears and the concerns of the minorities, and we will urge the central government, if we win, to pull back on this law. And that's just reminded the DMK, oh, we could have spoken about this as well. Let's make Citizenship Amendment Act an issue and question the AIADMK and their stand on it. Suffice to say, for the BJP, both in Tamil Nadu along with Assam, this has now become a tricky point. In Assam, of course, they're trying their best to not let this become part of the mainstream conversation, because as you know, for people of Assam, the fact that even refugees or immigrants of certain religions are being allowed to come in and will be given citizenship in their own state is a problem. So their problem really isn't about one religion or the other. It is more about how many more people are you going to give citizenship in our land. It's a completely different problem for what the rest of the country has. Nevertheless, it's a problem there for the BJP. Will it be enough to stop them from winning the next round of election? Remains to be seen, keeping in mind that the contenders there are the Congress party. But out of time on this conversation, thank you for joining us.